Hello, my name is Samantha Hoffman, and today I'm going to be presenting the Blue Neighborhood Trilogy as my final project. So the Blue Neighborhood Trilogy is a visual representation of 3 different songs off of the artist Troye Sivan's album, Blue Neighborhood. Those songs include Wild, Fools, and Talk Me Down, and today I'm arguing that the trilogy demonstrates the issues of mental illness, the fight for acceptance, and the struggles of abuse many LGBTQ plus youth face. So the background of the artist, Troye Sivan, is that he is currently 24 years old, and he grew up in Perth, Australia. He released his album, Blue Neighborhood, in September of 2015, and he got his start by doing covers of songs on YouTube in 2007, before coming out publicly in 2013. Since then, he has been a very great advocate for queer musicians and LGBTQ plus youth. So the first part of the trilogy is a song called Wild, and it is very much, both lyrically and visually, a summer love romance song about the beginnings of a relationship. Visually, there are scenes of Sivan and his lover growing up together, spending time with one another, and exploring, as well as cuts to them embracing in the future, so when they're a little older. Moreover, there are also is a consistent existence of Sivan's lover's father, who is recurringly surrounded by alcohol and eventually has a drunken outburst on the beach. This inclusion of alcohol and Sivan's lover's father actually sets up the abusive and unaccepting father who appears in part 2, Fools. So lyrically, Wild includes moments such as Leave This Blue Neighborhood, which again alludes to the album name, which Sivan describes in an interview with Apple One Beats Music, where he talks about Perth, Australia, where he grows up. He describes it by saying that although it's a very nice suburban, kind of perfect little place, it is also kind of trapping to him and someplace he wants to be free of and move on from. That second line there highlights the next part of the trilogy called Fools, and the third line actually relates to the work of Michael Warner and his discussion of LGBTQ plus youth and people outside of the norm being seen as deviants. This is seen directly in this quote where he is talking about how people who are outside of the norm aren't often given dignity and are not accepted by society. Going forward, the second part, called Fools, the song and the tone of the video is immediately more sad and melancholic, a little bit more serious, and it follows the story wherein Sivan's lover is found out by his father, who proceeds to physically abuse him and threaten him.
Are you okay? Beg your eye rolling around with boys? If he's back here one more time, I'll kill both of you.
And in response to this, Sivan's lover ends up reverting to compulsive heterosexuality and dating a woman instead. This directly relates to the work of Alan Downs in The Velvet Rage, who talks about how gay men deal with their shame and confront that shame and cope with it. So in this quote, you can see he notes, "We simply acted as if we weren't gay," and that is exactly what happens in the video with Sivan's lover. So lyrically, Fools is a little bit different. He discusses again the notion of the blue neighborhood in that first quote there, "I am tired of this place, I hope people change," but he also relates it to society in the sense that he wants to escape, but he also wants to be in a world that accepts him, and he is able to love freely. Moving forward, those other 2 quotes note that he has very high hopes for the future. He wants it all, as he states, and he wants to have a relationship and be free to love who he wants. However, he knows he must keep those hopes small because of the pressures and the lack of acceptance from society. Moving forward, the third part is called Talk Me Down, and the video follows the funeral for Sivan's ex-lover's father, who has died. So Sivan's lover is faced with both the grief and the mourning following his homophobic father's death, as well as his unrequited feelings of his sexuality and his shame of his sexuality. So despite pushing away his girlfriend, he ends up embracing Sivan. His girlfriend sees, and now he has to confront his shame. However, he ends up committing suicide, directly relating to the work of Alan Downs, who notes he'd do anything to not be gay, one of the more drastic methods of avoidance in suicide. And this notes where he discusses the coping mechanisms that gay men use in dealing with shame. So lyrically, Talk Me Down is not as blatant as Fools and Wild. However, he still notes his longing for wanting to be in that relationship and be free with his lover, but he's also torn by the pressures of society, feeling as if he is hurting his lover more than they were actually in love. And then that last quote there notes the uncertainty of their relationship and how he had high hopes and had those expectations for their future, only for them to be crushed. So despite the fact that this trilogy covers a lot of very large and serious issues for LGBTQ plus people, it is very one-sided and lacks diversity in the sense that the only experience that it showcases is the white male gay experience. And in a day and age where we have many LGBTQ plus artists and people of color who are artists, there ought to be more diversity in the videos and in the music. However, at the same time, this album is about Troye Sivan's own coming-of-age experience, and it is closely related to that, as well as the fact that it was released in September of 2015, which is only a few months after the Supreme Court ruling. However, on the same album, there is a song called Heaven, which includes the quotes that are up on the screen: without changing a part of me, how do I get to heaven? So if I'm losing a piece of me, maybe I don't want heaven, which perfectly exemplifies the conflict of religion and pressures from society. Moreover, the visuals in the video, which was released in 2017, include historic gay rights movement images, and it's very celebratory of that history and that diversity, which the trilogy itself lacks. So all in all, the Blue Neighborhood Trilogy exemplifies the ideas of Warner and Downs, as well as displays issues that the LGBTQ plus youth face, such as lack of acceptance, mental health issues, as well as abuse. And overall, it shows the disapproval of society and how that can take a toll on LGBTQ plus youth. And that is all. Thank you for listening.